Okay. This is my third time trying this video because I just woke up. I'm trying to throw a video together before I go to work, and honestly, my mind just does not seem to run too clean when I first wake up. It branches off in all sorts of directions. It's kind of like, my own mental form of the evolutionary branching tree, just everywhere. Nodes stopping at every point. But either way, I want to define evolution for some people out there because a lot of people don't get it. And of course I'm talking about creationists mainly. But there's also those people who are just now learning about evolution, and they may not quite have gotten an understanding of what evolution is from their school, probably because creationist pressure has messed up the textbooks. But let's talk about that. What is evolution? Let's talk about the process of evolution. This is the one thing that is an absolute fact. Evolution is a change in allele frequencies over time in a population. That's it. In the past, like say during Darwin's time, evolution was just a change in the species. They didn't know any more definitive way to define that. Nowadays, like I said, evolution is the change in allele frequencies in a population over time. Alleles are different versions of the same gene. So, say for instance you have a gene that's not that important, does some things, and it's just lost from a population. Well, that gene frequency has just gone to zero. That's a change. That is evolution. Or say you have a gene like the ones responsible for skin pigmentation that produces melanin, and you start doubling them up, producing darker skins. Or actually, in a more correct fashion, when it comes to humans, you start losing copies of those genes. But either way, again, you see that those gene frequencies shift. That's evolution. The theory of evolution deals with the mechanisms and the phenomena observed in regards to that process. So we know the process occurs. The theory of evolution itself deals with the selective pressures, whether it's natural selection, artificial selection, sexual selection, or whatever. And it deals with stochastic events such as genetic drift. Stochastic means more chance-like events such as genetic drift. And the theory also deals with the evidences that we find in regards to living organisms and extinct organisms, such as fossils. So you put this all together, the mechanisms, the evidences, the phenomena, and what you get is a well-comprehensive theory. So, let's talk about Ardipithecus. Just ignore the background noise. So Ardipithecus is this fossil I mentioned in my last video. It's actually a fairly complete fossil of a likely human ancestor from 4.4 million years ago. Okay, so I was a little interrupted by my brother. Decided to stop the tape because he was making noise, getting himself something to eat or drink, whatever it was. So I'm not going to edit any of that. I'm just going to splice this right into it. So with Ardipithecus, as I was mentioning, why is this such an important fossil? Because we have a near complete skeleton of Ardipithecus, showing some very important aspects of the morphology. And morphology means shape, for those of you that aren't sure of that out there, since I've been using that term. But I'm assuming most people know about it, know what the term means. What the morphology of Ardipithecus shows us is that, one, Ardipithecus was definitely hominid-like. In other words, it had an upright posture as it moved. It shows us that its foot bones were developed enough to support itself quite effectively in an upright walking posture. Yet it also retains many elements of an arboreal type life. In other words, a life lived in trees. A close examination of the sediments that Ardipithecus was found in, and the fossils also found associated with Ardipithecus, such as fossils of small mammals and birds, and large mammals and seeds and all that, show that Ardipithecus lived in a fairly forested zone. Probably not like a rainforest, but probably more like the nice mature forest that we used to have in some places here in America or even in England. So it wasn't quite as wet, but it was likely still very densely wooded. So what do we see with Ardipithecus? Well, we see exactly what would be predicted by the theory of evolution, based on the concept that the process actually occurs and that modifications in genes lead to morphological modifications, which lead to things that we should be able to observe in the fossil record if we find ancestors of species. And that's what we see with Ardipithecus. We see these more ancestral characteristics as well as the derived characteristics that make us who we are, of an upright walking ape. So it's important, if you want to discuss evolution, or if you want to look at it and you're a creationist, is at least understand what the terms mean. Like, what is the process of evolution? What is evolution as a theory? Now, you'll notice that I never mentioned the beginning of life, talking about the theory of evolution, because the theory of evolution deals with life, not how it started. I never dealt with the beginning of the universe, or the origin of the universe, or any of that stuff, because the theory of evolution doesn't deal with that. It deals only with it deals only with organisms. So don't come to my channel, don't come to my videos and start spouting about the origin of life. Evolution doesn't explain it. Well, of course not, because it's not meant to. Evolution doesn't explain the origin of the universe. Well, of course not. It isn't meant to. But it does explain how life has changed over time. And it does show us that all life is interconnected. So I'm going to stop it there because I have this feeling I'm going to start really running on, and I don't want to do that. Okay. So you guys have a good day. I'll be going to work pretty soon. It's only a 2-hour day for me. I only have 3 students, 1 for an hour. It's great. Okay, take care.